Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for taking the time to listen to what I have to say. Special Investigations Unit, or SIU for short, we deal with the most serious and organised crimes against animals, where unfortunately most of our cases involve the most extreme levels of suffering that these poor animals have to endure. The suspects involved with our cases are generally involved with other criminality, and more often than not, part of serious and organised crime groups. They are frequently dangerous, aggressive, and violent individuals that we have to deal with. I don't have time to talk about all the types of crimes that we get involved in, so one of the offences we deal with, which we consider to be a volume crime, is animal fighting. This is where a person allows their dog to fight with another animal. This is usually a dog fighting against a badger, a fox, or a dog versus a dog. The level of cruelty when it comes to animal fighting, in particular badger baiting, I can only describe it as absolutely horrific. It's horrific for the dogs involved, but equally as cruel to the other wild animals. It's a long, torturous death for the badgers, but the dogs that are used will also receive serious facial injuries from fighting with the badgers. The individuals involved will always self-medicate their dogs at home. They can't take them to vets due to fear of being reported to the authorities. When their dogs can no longer work due to their injuries becoming so bad, the dogs are usually killed. Quite often when we excavate badger sets under licence that have been dug out and backfilled, we often find dead badgers, but sometimes also find dead dogs. All these pictures that you can see here on this slide are recent cases that we have had, which just shows you how common this type of crime is for us. Case against Mark Cuthbert. Mark Cuthbert was heavily involved in badger baiting. When we entered his home address, like all the cases we have been involved in, he had 2 dogs with serious facial injuries. Both of his dogs had injuries consistent with having been in repeated fights with badgers. As well as equipment you would associate with badger baiting, he also had a veterinary cabinet. Inside the veterinary cabinet, we found super glue, where we were able to match DNA from his dogs to dog DNA found inside the superglue nozzle. This was strong evidence that he was using superglue to fix his dog's injuries. During the search, we seized his mobile phone, which was sent off to be forensically analysed. We have to go through every message, video, and image when we're looking through mobile phones. When we were looking through his emails, we found that he was buying cats and kittens from online sites on the pretense that they were going to a loving, caring home. He would then take the cats and kittens to a nearby field and use his dogs to kill the cats. The sole purpose was to train his dogs for badger baiting. He would also video his dogs killing the cats. We estimate he killed at least 80 cats. He was given a 9-month prison sentence and a 10-year disqualification order from owning or keeping animals. We have had a number of successful dogfighting cases. The dogs that are mainly involved in dogfighting cases are American pit bulls. Everybody in our unit is trained to be able to identify pit bulls. Again, suspects involved with dogfighting will self-medicate their dogs using pain relief, sutures, and staple guns. Tony Barbara, who is considered to be Britain's top 2 dogfighter, was prosecuted by our unit, and he received an 8-month prison sentence and a lifetime disqualification order from keeping dogs. Again, individuals like to film and video their dogs fighting, so seizing mobile phones when we execute search warrants is absolutely essential. They may also show us communication with potentially other dog fighters. Puppy farming is a huge problem for our unit because it is just so big and there are just such vast sums of money to be made. It is a multi-million-pound industry. Serious and organised crime groups are involved due to the sums of money that can be made, and it is also a way that they can launder their drug money through the sales of pups. On this slide here in the top left-hand corner, the large shed, this is a classic puppy farm in Ireland where there could be up to 1,200 breeding bitches inside. Some farms are licensed and some are not, but normally the conditions are always awful. There is no socialisation for the pups or bitches who are locked up in these farms where there are even automated feeding systems. Pups are taken away from their mother at too young an age, so usually they have bad immune systems. There is always the issue of spread of disease because you have so many dogs locked into such a small space where normally ventilation is poor. This slide here, this is a picture taken from a licensed puppy farm in Ireland where the bitch and pups are kept in these boxes. You can see from this picture here that the bitch can't even stand up, it's just permanently having to lie down. These boxes are called whelping boxes and are completely illegal, and this is actually one of the good farms in Ireland. So in Scotland, we have all the dealers. They will travel over to Ireland through the ferry port at Kenryan. They will attend at large-scale puppy farms, normally in the south of Ireland, where they can buy a puppy for around €100. They will conceal as many puppies as they can in a vehicle, a bit like this picture here, which was taken by our unit, and they will return to Scotland via the same route and sell the puppies on sites such as Gumtree for around £800 to £1,000. That is a huge markup. Currently, during COVID, puppies are selling for anywhere between £2,000 to £3,000 per pup. This is believed to be due to supply and demand. Demand is really high in the UK at the moment for dogs, and this is probably due to the fact that members of the public can currently work from home, which allows them to have puppies more easily. The pups are either brought to the buyer's home address, or buyers will meet the sellers in car parks. Sometimes the illegal dealers will be even more sophisticated and will sell from what we call halfway houses, where they will even have a show bitch. Shortly after purchase, most of the pups will die or become seriously ill due to their poor start in life, and this is obviously terribly upsetting for family members. We regularly receive calls regarding pups that have been tossed beside the road. This is normally on the route from Kenryan to central Scotland. Dealers will just throw these pups out of their vehicle when they have died. We have tried to tackle the illegal puppy trade by developing a multi-agency approach called Operation Delphin. This relies on all agencies sharing intelligence on high-profile illegal dealers, as well as developing these targets. This has been working very well, and we've had a number of very big successes. On top of the work that we carry out of the Ports Unit, we also target dealers' home addresses. This normally involves seizing dogs that have had their welfare compromised, as well as seizing documentation and mobile phones. This recent case of ours, case against Frank James, where he had been running Scotland's largest puppy farm. Conditions inside the premises were absolutely appalling, where dogs were locked up for 24 hours a day, and they were receiving absolutely no veterinary care or attention whatsoever. Frank James was using numerous illegal dealers to sell dogs on his behalf. On that day, we seized 97 dogs, and he received a 9-month prison sentence and a lifetime ban on owning or keeping dogs. Our unit has to be able to keep up with the criminals that we deal with. They are sneaky, and we have to be even sneakier, which involves having the latest up-to-date technology. This assists us in identifying offenders and developing evidence. Mobile phone analysis is a huge expense for our unit, but it is absolutely essential, and it is the key to the success with our prosecutions. Phone analysis costs anywhere between £1,000 to £3,000 per phone. Sometimes individuals can have more than one mobile phone per case. We as a unit have huge successes, and our cases are always very, very high profile in the media. We are the only reporting agency in Scotland that are looking at all these offences. The animals that we deal with go through the most awful amounts of pain, suffering and torture, and we are here to stop that. If our unit wasn't looking at these offences, then nobody would be, and these animals would continue to suffer. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen, and I will be around to answer any questions that you may have. Thanks again.